Good morning. Okay. So yeah, we started the next chapter, which is heat, right? Um, so we started discussing about in the last class we were talking about laboratory thermometer. We came to know that the laboratory thermometers are used in the laboratories to check the temperature of substances. And the range of thermometer in the laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. Right. This is the range of thermometer in the laboratory thermometer. So laboratory thermometer and clinical thermometer, these are mercury thermometers. Today we will discuss about the clinical thermometer. So laboratory thermometer, as I said, when you have to make use of the laboratory thermometer, it should not be on the bottom. It should not touch the bottom of the container, or it should not be on the sides. You should hold it vertically. It should be straight, and you have to see the reading uh, when the glass bulb is surrounded by the substance, and when it is inside the substance, then only you can take the reading. Then only the mercury level will raise, and you can take the reading with your same level of eyesight. Okay, because once you remove the thermometer, laboratory thermometer, out of the substance, the mercury level will immediately fall down. So that's why you cannot make use of the laboratory thermometer to check your temperature, because as you take it out from the substance, the mercury level falls off. Okay, so it is designed in that way. Now we will see clinical thermometer. So can you please allow me to share the screen, sir? So precaution should be taken while using the laboratory thermometer. It should be, you should always hold it vertically to measure the temperature. Okay, once again. Right. Yes, so the bulb should not touch the sides of the container, or should not touch the bottom of the container. The reading should be taken when the bulb is in contact with the substance. Okay, the thermometer's bulb shouldn't be touched, and you should take the reading when it is inside, and you should handle with great care the laboratory thermometer. The range of thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. You cannot make use of the laboratory thermometer to measure the human body temperature, because as soon as you remove the laboratory thermometer out from the substance or from the solution, the moment you take it out, the level of mercury will start falling. So it will not show you the correct reading. So you cannot make use of the laboratory thermometer to check the human body temperature. For human body temperature, we have the thermometer called clinical thermometer. So this is the picture of a clinical thermometer. Clinical thermometer is used to measure human body temperature. This is the thermometer used to check the human body temperature. Now observe the picture. You can see it consists of a glass tube. Yes, having a thin and uniform bore. Inside you have the numbers. The glass bulb at one end has got the mercury, and we can see the shining thread of mercury in the glass tube. You can see the glass tube. You have the markings on both the sides. Usually in the clinical thermometer, the temperature scales are marked on two sides. Okay, in two sides. One is in Celsius scale, and the other one is the Fahrenheit scale. So on the top, you can see the Celsius scale. Degree C is written, right? So that is degree Celsius. At the bottom, you have degree F, that is degree Fahrenheit. So degree Celsius. Now you can see the range of thermometer. Excuse me. The range of thermometer in clinical thermometer is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. On the top, can you see the numbers? 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So this is the range of thermometer from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. And at the bottom, the markings are given in Fahrenheit scale. So in Fahrenheit scale, it is starting from 94 degree Fahrenheit. Then it is 95, 96, 97, 98, but they have just given one digits as 6, 8, but that is 96, 98, then 100, then 102, 104, 105, 108 degrees Celsius. Okay. We can convert degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. We have a formula for that, which I'll show you. Right. So this is how the clinical thermometer looks like. And the range of thermometer is from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. The normal human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. 37 degrees Celsius. Okay. So in Fahrenheit, it is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. So it is a very important objective type question. What is the normal human body temperature? It is 37 degrees Celsius. In Celsius, it is 37 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit, it is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. Okay. So this is how a clinical thermometer looks like. Actually, the clinical thermometer has a small kink, a small constriction over here. That means here it will have a small bend in the beginning here, beginning of the numbers. Okay. That constriction in the glass tube, which is above the bulb, it prevents the mercury level in the thermometer tube from falling on its own. So here you will have a small constriction in the beginning of the numbers, a small bend which will prevent the mercury to fall down immediately. Okay. So thermometer, clinical thermometer, when we are using it, you have to wash the thermometer properly with antiseptic solution. Okay. And you have to handle it with care. So once you are going to use the clinical thermometer, if you have clinical thermometers at home also, most of us will have it. What we have to do is we have to wash it properly in antiseptic solution. Okay. Then slowly give some jerks. That means shake the thermometer so that the mercury thread in the glass tube falls down to 35 degrees Celsius. Then if your sibling or your mummy or someone is not feeling well, put the bulb of the thermometer. So the bulb end of the thermometer, the left end of the picture, that part should be put under the tongue of the patient, and you have to hold it gently for at least 1.5 minutes. Then remove it from the patient's mouth and you have to hold it horizontally. That means how it is in the picture, like that. You have to hold it horizontally, not vertically, horizontally. Okay. And keep the thermometer to your eye level and read the level of mercury. So the mercury level will definitely raise when you check the patient's temperature, and that will help you to find the temperature. So this will give you the reading. The reading gives the body temperature of the patient. Okay. But you cannot use a clinical thermometer to check high range temperatures. Like it cannot be used to measure high temperatures, because it is not designed to measure high temperature. It is designed only to measure the human body temperature, okay, which has a short range. But in case if we have to check high temperature, the clinical thermometer will not show you the reading. It will get damaged. That's why now we have, one second, digital thermometers. These digital thermometers do not have mercury. These are the commonly used thermometers nowadays. So this is a type of digital thermometer. This is a type of digital thermometer. See, there are different types now. And now this is very common, which I think most of would have seen this now, especially during this COVID time. Every supermarket or every shop you enter, they will check your temperature using the digital thermometer. This is no contact or contactless thermometer, digital thermometer. They do not have mercury. These are the commonly used one which do not use mercury. See, this can be kept at a small distance away from your forehead or your part of the body, and you can check the temperature. See, this is how they check. Just in 1 second, it will give you your temperature. And you don't have to touch your body at all. Just hold it near your forehead or your hand. It will show you the reading. You will get the temperature. Okay. So here it is. Precaution should be taken while using clinical thermometer, as precaution should be taken while using laboratory thermometer. The precautions to be taken while using clinical thermometer is you have to handle it very carefully. The thermometer should not be held at the bulb. In all the thermometers, the clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer, you should not touch the bulb part of the thermometer. Okay. The reading must be taken by keeping the level of mercury along the line of sight. So your level of eyesight and the level of the thermometer should be equal to check the correct reading of the thermometer, to check the correct temperature, to get the correct reading. Okay. So these are things which you have to keep in mind. Okay. Digital thermometers are preferred over conventional mercury thermometer. So the old thermometers are will have mercury. They are old conventional mercury thermometers. But now we are switching over to digital thermometers because it is contactless, no contact. You don't have to bring it or in contact with your skin. Digital thermometers are easy to read. This one, the one which is here in the picture, this one you have to bring in contact because we keep it in our armpit instead of keeping it in the tongue. But the one which I showed you before some time, the one which I told has become very common now in this COVID situation. Wherever, whichever shop you enter, they'll check you. They don't touch you. So those thermometers have become very common now. Okay. They are mercury free. So these thermometers will show the reading. They have a LCD display where the temperature of the person will be seen. Okay. And this is the picture of laboratory thermometer. See, yeah. Laboratory thermometer doesn't have a kink or a constriction here in the beginning of the number. That is why the mercury level falls down very fast. Okay. So this and all we saw how to measure the temperature. Now moving on to the next topic. So far we saw how to measure the temperature using thermometer and the different types of thermometer. Now we are moving on to the next topic, which is transfer of heat. Sorry. So heat is a form of energy. Yes, we learned that heat is a form of energy which can flow from one body to another. And what is temperature? Temperature is the effect of heat, right? Temperature is the effect of heat. Temperature is not an energy. Temperature helps us to calculate the amount of heat energy present in the body. It is not an energy, but it is helping us to calculate the amount of heat energy present in the body. Whereas heat is a form of energy and it is the cause of temperature. Heat causes change in the temperature of the body. This we learned when we were learning the difference between. Transfer of heat, as I said, heat flows from one body to another. It flows from a higher temperature body to a lower temperature body. It can flow from one part of the body to another part of the same body. Okay. Heat is transferred in three different ways. Now, this transfer of heat from a higher temperature of a body to a lower temperature body is called transfer of heat. Okay, for example, if you put a spoon in a hot cup of coffee, the cup of coffee is hot, and the spoon which you put is not hot. But when you put the spoon inside the hot cup of coffee, we find that the temperature of the spoon will also rise, and soon the spoon will also become hot. Okay, so what is happening? Heat is getting transferred from the hot tea, it is flowing to the metallic spoon. This process of carrying heat from one part of the object to the other object is called transfer of heat. Okay, this is what is transfer of heat. So heat is flowing from a body of a higher temperature to a body of a lower temperature. So what is the body of higher temperature here? The hot cup of coffee. What is the lower body of temperature? The spoon. So heat is getting transferred from the hot coffee to the cold spoon. The spoon will also become hot. Okay, so this is what is transfer of heat. Now, as it is already given in the slide, that heat is transferred in 3 different ways. What are the ways? How heat can flow from a body at a higher temperature to a body, another body of lower temperature. The three different ways are conduction, convection, and radiation. Excuse me. Conduction, convection, and radiation. What is conduction? So coming to the first mode of transfer of heat. So 3 different ways are conduction, convection, radiation. First one is conduction. What is conduction? Transfer of heat through direct contact. Conduction takes place in solids. In solids, heat is transferred by conduction. Okay, a very important point to remember. Conduction takes place in solids. So in solids, heat is getting transferred by conduction. Okay. Such a transfer of heat from hot part of the material to colder part is called conduction, where like in the picture, see, there's a picture where food is being prepared in a utensil. Okay. So when we prepare food, we use a vessel. It is coming in direct contact with the heat. Now I use a spoon. Okay. I stir the gravy or I stir the food, and I leave the spoon in the vessel as such. After a few minutes, if I go and touch the spoon, what will happen? The spoon will also be hot, right? The spoon will be hot. So what is happening here? Both the things are solid. Heat is getting transferred in the solid by mode of conduction. Heat is getting transferred from the hot vessel in which I'm cooking food to the cold vessel which I kept. And I forgot to remove it, and I kept it. When I went and touched a spoon after a minute or after 2 minutes, you will find that the spoon is also hot. So this is called conduction, transfer of heat from hot material to cold material is called conduction. Okay. Now we know about conductors and insulators, right? Transfer of heat by the process of conduction, as I said, takes place only in solids. So you have to always remember this. This is a very important point. Transfer of heat takes place only in solids. So on the basis of conduction, materials are classified into 2 groups. One is good conductor of heat and the other is poor conductor of heat. Good conductor of heat, the materials which allow heat to pass through them are called good conductors or conductors. Okay, we know what are conductors, something which will allow things to pass through it. Okay, so the material which allows heat to pass through them are called good conductors of heat or conductors of heat. Materials which allow heat to pass through them easily. Example, iron, aluminium, copper. These are examples of conductors of heat because they will allow heat to pass through them. If I'm using aluminum spoon or a stainless steel spoon, it will definitely pass from one vessel to other vessel, it will get passed. Now, if instead of using a stainless steel spoon, if I use a wooden spatula or a wooden spoon, what will happen? It will not become hot, right? So I can go and touch the wooden spatula without the fear of getting my hands burnt, right? Because wood is an insulator, it is a poor conductor of heat. Okay, wood, glass, water, air, these are all insulators, examples. Okay, insulators. Wood, plastic, glass, rubber, air, water are all examples of insulators, because insulators are the materials which do not allow heat to pass through them easily. They will not allow heat to pass through them, right? So what did I tell you in the beginning? That in solids, heat is transferred by conduction. Okay, so transfer of heat by the process of conduction takes place only in solids. Liquids are poor conductors of heat and gases are the poorest conductors of heat. Okay, liquids are poor conductors of heat and gases are the poorest conductors of heat. The materials which can trap air in them are excellent insulators. So how transfer of heat takes place in solids? Through the mode of conduction. What is conduction? The transfer of heat from a hot part of the material to the colder part is called conduction. Okay, as long as the objects are in contact, transfer of heat will continue until the temperature of the object is the same. Example, if you leave a metal spoon in a pan of soup that you are heating on the stove, it may burn your fingers. The spoon is in direct contact with the hot soup. That is why it is becoming hot and heat is getting transferred to the spoon. But so what we can tell, that the spoon which I use is a stainless steel spoon, which is a good conductor of heat. It's a conductor of heat. So instead of that spoon, if I use a wooden spatula, it is a insulator. It will not absorb the heat. The heat will not get transferred to the wooden spatula. Okay, so this is the first mode of transfer of heat, right? So I'll show you again. We are learning transfer of heat. Transfer of heat is the process where heat is being carried from one object to another object, and heat flows from from one body to another body. Heat is a form of energy which can flow from one body to another body. It can flow from a body of higher temperature to a body of lower temperature by three different ways. They are conduction, convection, radiation. We saw conduction where I gave you an example. When we cook food, the heat is flowing from a body of a high temperature to another body of lower temperature. Okay, so then we learned about conductors and insulators. Conductors are good conductors, or they are the materials which allow heat to pass through them. Insulators are poor conductors of heat because they do not allow heat to pass through them. Example of conductors which allow heat to pass through them are silver, copper, aluminum, iron, because they can easily carry heat. Insulators are plastic, wood, glass, paper, water. These are insulators. So in solids, heat is transferred by conduction. In liquids are poor conductors of heat. They're poor conductors of heat, and gases are the poorest conductors of heat. Now, next mode of transfer of heat. Next mode of transfer of heat is convection. Convection, the transfer of energy in a liquid or gas, is convection. Convection is the transfer of heat in liquid or gas. So from the hotter part of a liquid to a colder part. Okay, what happens is there will be movement of particles in the liquid and gases itself, which will make the heat to transfer. When part of gas or liquid is heated, the particles in it are made to move faster and spread more. The moving particles bump into another particles, causing them to move faster and spread out more. Meaning, when we, like for example, when we boil water, okay, you take a beaker or you take a vessel, you switch on the stove, fill the container with water. When it starts heating, what will happen? Initially, when you keep your finger inside when you try to touch and check if it is hot or not. Initially, when you switch on, you'll be able to put your fingers in because the water will be cold. Why? Because only the bottom part is getting heated up. Slowly, you will see that the water will start moving. The bottom part, which is bubbling up, will come up, will move up, and the cold water in the top region will start moving down. Okay, this is what is convection. There will be circular movement of molecules. The molecules will start moving and will make the water to get hot. That is called convection. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop with this. Excuse me. One second. Yes. Okay. So I hope things are clear till what we learned today. Okay, good. So you all have got your ebook with you, right? Your textbooks are sent. I think most of you would have downloaded by this time. Please go through the textbook. Okay, after you finish your lunch, go through whatever we learned today. Okay, then only you will find it easier. And whatever homework is sent, please do the homework carefully and do it honestly, on time. Your exams are going to start, so please do learn thoroughly. Your portion, I already told you that you'll be having chapter 3, fiber to fabric from physical science. Okay. So yeah, tomorrow they are going to give you the books, so you can go and collect your books and notebooks. Once you get your notebooks, you have to write your classworks, and anytime I'll ask you to show the classwork. Okay. So start learning, practice writing, improve your handwriting, learn thoroughly, learn the spellings, read the textbook, go through the PPT, prepare well for the objectives as you did last year, because last year most of you did very good in objectives. I was very happy to see most of you reading the chapters. That's what you were able to easily crack the objectives. Okay. So go through the textbook, go through the PPTs, and keep preparing for the cycle test. Next week I'll give you some revision for the cycle test. Okay. So I'll wind up with this, and we'll meet on Tuesday. We don't have class tomorrow. Okay. So take care, stay safe. Thank you.